don't want to pay that. That's too much.
Reconnecting people. Thanks for coming. It's nice to see everyone. Happy Friday. Happy week 7 Friday. Hooray. Next week we get a bit of a breather. Lots of you are already registered for our Teaching and Learning Day on Tuesday. If you haven't yet registered, it's not too late. You can register with the form online or just show up. Really, that's what you do. Send us an email if you have dietary restrictions. We'll be glad to see you. So today, as you know, we're all here for the first hour, and then some of you are free to go after the first hour if you don't belong to Braille Group 1 or Braille Group 2 and or are not scheduled to microteach today, because there are some things that aren't both. So, before we get to that, we can answer those questions at 3 o'clock. We have our guest speakers today from International Student Services that we would like to welcome. We have Tracy McConnery, who's the manager of English Language Programs and International at the end, Student Services. Okay. Yeah. And Debbie Harrison, whose title I have no idea what it is.
Changes all the time.
International Student Advisor. Perfect. So, welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Okay, well, we're actually going to get started by getting you talking for a minute, because we realize with such a short period of time, maybe we better just narrow in on knowing a bit about you and what your concerns were. So we're just going to take a very brief few minutes to go around the table, and you could share your name and which campus you're on, which program you're instructing in, and maybe about sort of what your experience level is working with diversity in the classroom. To know people here are brand new teachers and very experienced teachers, but you may also be someone like me who came into the college system from another sector where you, in the field of business or community or whatever, you dealt with a lot of diversity, and you may have quite a comfort level of dealing with newcomers of very, very different cultural backgrounds. So if that's something you could kind of let us know, how do you, on a 1 to 10, do you feel about yourself and entering maybe into a classroom filled with international students, because that's what we're going to focus on today, very briefly. And then we'll tell you a bit about our services and what we can do to help you, and a few key points that we think we'd like to get you going with today. So maybe we'll start over here and just keep it brief, and we'll just go around.
Okay, I'm Jesse Mello, and I'm a new teacher here, but I do have a class that I think is 100% international students that I'm working on. So I have a little bit of experience with them so far, and I also have some experience working with populations from emerging markets through industry that I've dealt with a lot of customers in those markets as well. So.
You'll find it really applies.
Well, in Aurora, I teach at the School of Business, Global Business Strategy, and International Business Management programs. I have all my students are international students so far. Yeah, I have a lot of experience working with international, workers and students and engineers and all that.
You could be teaching us. I'm Alana, and I'm just the videographer.
Director of photography.
Yeah, director of photography.
DOP.
And talent.
Yeah. Are we in the right position for you, Alana?
Yes, you're.
All right.
Lovely job.
But their heads are cut off.
Their heads are cut off a little bit, but we're able to see the slides.
That's a first ever.
I know. Yeah. I thought you'd like hearing that. My name's Christine, and I'm with Protection Security Investigations. I have 2 international students, so interesting. I suppose I don't have a ton of experience teaching international students compared to my colleagues, but I come from policing, so got lots of experience with diversity. So hey, I don't know.
International students struggle in Canadian law programs.
Oh,
so
they're hard.
Yeah.
Yes, because
Very
they don't have the
challenging for them.
historical piece.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Perfect segue.
Amy Maycock, I teach in the paralegal and law clerk program.
Okay.
We have 4 international students this semester right now. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we know this because they all come to see us crying on failing courses.
Yes, we had more.
Yeah.
We have 4 now. Yeah.
I'm Tanya Pye in early childhood education. In January, we had a large number of international students. We were at 97% of our intake was international. This semester, we have 6 for our intake, so things have changed. It is. Yeah, it is. I could have written these questions because these are mine. I might have. I didn't, but I'm really interested in this conversation that's coming because I've certainly struggled and grown and not and back again a lot over the last 8 months, and still losing sleep many nights. So I'm certainly looking for some support.
Absolutely. EC might have been one of the programs I was reflecting on as I wrote those case studies.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about that. Thank you.
Neil Micah, coordinator for the plumbing and mechanical program here. I have some experience. We have typically 2 or 3 students per semester. Last January intake we had up to 8, but it was a good experience actually.
Okay, super.
Rick Neidham, I teach academic upgrading at the Lindsay campus. Previous to that, I had experience working with some international. I don't have any in Lindsay, but I drive all the way from Keene, so I consider me an international teacher.
Got your passport?
From the culture key.
My name is Noel Savage. I teach in the same program as Wade Allen, so School of Business, International, Global Business, and 100% international students. Learning lots, and it's been great. We understand the challenges and keep working forward.
My name is Marianne Wilson. I teach in Halliburton for the academic upgrading program. I'm coordinator there as well. We have very few international students up there. We have one who's been with us in communications, and it's been a bit of a struggle.
I'm Paula Anderson. I'm at the Frost campus, and I teach in the Sustainable Ag program there. About 75% of our program is international students, which means I have around 60, if not a few more. No, more. More than that. I have about 75. If I can do my math correctly or whatever. So yeah, we have a lot of international students, and that's we have a lot of changes in our program happening because of that, and needing to change the way we do things quite a lot. So for my own background, I come with teaching, some teaching at the university, and I've had a lot of international experience. And fortunately, most of our students are coming from a particular place, which I have been and lived, so that's been a huge benefit. They're like, oh, you actually know something about where we're from and understand that in a different way. So it's been really fun so far. Challenging, but fun.
Fantastic. I'm Stephanie Hicks. I teach in the academic upgrading at Crew, just down the road here. I currently do not have any international students, but in my previous post-secondary teaching, I've had a lot of experience at the Frost campus with the international students.
Rick Staples, Heavy Equipment Techniques program over at Frost. Currently we've got 6, 7, I guess, in a group of about 45. So they're running, 15 to 20% range international students, and it certainly has had its challenges with our group.
Good mix to get introduced with too.
My name is Jeremy Spensley. I teach in the project management program here, so like 99% international students. And then teach a couple straggler courses as well where there's a mix. But,
Thanks. Gada Hussain, and I teach in the project management program, and sometimes I teach some courses in the WIN program. The WIN is 100% international, project management 99%. We have one this semester, one domestic student. Yeah, I've been in the college for a while, so I do have some experience with international students, and my background also, I did work in industry with international people.
You've made it through wireless, you're a pro. You're still here?
Yeah.
I'm Jeff Clark. I teach in common first semester at Frost Campus and teaching 3 sections of one course. So I have about 95 students. I think there's 3 internationals, so not a whole bunch.
Okay.
And they're doing fine
Great.
for the most part.
My name is Dumina. I'm teaching in the wireless information networking program and the CSI program. Like 100% international students. In even the CSI program now, we're getting to see a lot more international students, which is kind of interesting to see the difference between 100% and not 100%. So it's actually an interesting transaction. You can see the difference between how the students actually cope in the different environments. I'm still learning to this day. I've taught a lot of international students over the years here at Fleming, and I'm still learning. Like today, for example, one of my students was explaining to me that if people in India, for example, decided not to do an assignment, the teacher would extend it automatically because the whole class isn't doing it. So I explained that that's not how it works here. But I mean, these are the kind of things. This is a first-year student in our WIN program. That's much smaller this year. It's 16 students only. My third semester that I teach with Jesse here as well is like almost 300 students, 280 and change. So I have a lot of experience from also for industries and stuff that are in a community that I work in as well.
My name is Jeff Hubers. I'm with Neil there in the plumbing mechanical trades program. I do some prints and drafting. Not as many international students this semester as previously. I'm still trying to get over how they collaborate on their answers, and also language barrier I stumble at. Yeah.
Well, increasing interest in international students in the trades, right? They're following the markets where they're going to get employment, and
Yeah.
you're going to keep seeing growth there, I'm sure. So we're really happy to see you here today. Thanks.
I'm Erin Magali. I teach over at the Frost Campus in the Environmental Technology program. And in my third year class, I don't have any, well, I have maybe 1 or 2 international students. In my second year class, I have maybe a quarter of the class that's international students. And so I don't have a lot of teaching experience with international students, but I have sort of cross-cultural experiences in terms of international travel and things like that, so I feel comfortable with that. But yeah, certainly from a teaching perspective, I'm learning things.
Well, it's a great starting place, Tracy. We've got tons of expertise around the table, and you can definitely look to your colleagues for support. Hopefully a few points we'll share today will be helpful.
Sure. So we're going to start. We don't have a lot of time, and we want to save some time for our case studies. So we're going to start with a brief profile of our international students at Fleming and our services. But some of you have heard a little bit of this before, so we'll move quickly through that. Debbie will explain a little bit about
I'll be your clicker.
Sure.
How about that?
Sounds good. Debbie will explain a little bit about the cultural component of teaching international students, and then we'll move on to the case studies if that's okay. So very briefly, this is our international student services team at Fleming. At our Sutherland campus, we have Debbie Harrison and Amanda Gray, who are our international student advisors. We also have Marta Reyes and Zia Thomas. They work on a part-time basis with us, planning events and just providing student service support. We have 5 student staff at our Sutherland campus. I'm sure you've seen them in the foyer with all of our programming. James Bosch is our executive director. There's me. And Stefania Jamidi is our administrative assistant. In Lindsay, we have Charmaine Magumbe, who is our International Student Services Advisor there. And we also have 2 student staff who work in Lindsay at Frost. Okay. So some of the things we do in International Student Services, and I know that many of you are familiar with our services, but if you have any questions, please ask us. We have our arrival services. So we pick up students at the airport, we bring them back here, we give them a free stay. They can get up to a 5-night free stay in a hotel here, you know, if they're having any issues looking for housing. We also this past semester launched a webinar series where we can talk to the students before they come and answer their questions and introduce our team to them. This semester we also had a Welcome to Fleming shuttle where we took a bus on key days where we knew a lot of students were arriving to greet them with a sign and bring them back and tell them about our programming personally. So every semester we're trying to improve on our services and what we're offering. We have our orientation program, so 3 days of orientation at Frost and Sutherland. We give them their welcome package. We coordinate all of their health insurance. A lot of individual advising on academics, on immigration. We have drop-in hours. They can book appointments with us. As you all know, the students are on a pathway to stay here, to live here, to work here. They are looking for that immigration advising. The International Student Employment Program, so we have about 32 student workers across Sutherland and Frost campuses who we fund to work in various departments so they can get that work experience. Social events, lots of social events. We just went to Niagara Falls. We're going to the Pumpkin Patch soon. You'll see us in the foyer. We have a cultural showcase that you'll be hearing all about that's happening for International Education Week. So we have a lot of social events and social programs, and please feel free to sign up for our mailing list if you want to learn more about the programs we offer every week for the students. And just that community connection. We work closely with Trent University and their International Student Services team, with the New Canadian Centre. We're trying to get the students really involved in the community and connected, given the fact that they want to stay here. So we want to make those connections early. Who are our students at Fleming College? Well, we have 1,969 international students at Fleming across all of our campuses. At Frost, we have 234, and in Halliburton, we have 2. One in your communications course. This is interesting. We have increasingly more women coming to study here, so 40% female. Okay, which is different from what it's been in the past. Predominantly our students are university graduates, which makes them a little bit older than maybe our domestic students statistically. We know that 99% of our students are on an immigration pathway to become permanent residents. So they want that work experience early, but they may not have worked back home. In fact, they probably haven't worked back home. So they want to get here and they instantly want to find a job, but you can imagine the challenges when they come to Canada and they don't have that work experience, the resume building, the interview skills that they need, all of those things. Especially with our students who are coming here from India, and I would say Syria as well, they don't have a lot of computer experience when it comes to working on a desktop, but they're very adept with their phones. So I'm sure that you've noticed those things, getting that kind of computer experience, that practical experience that the domestic students have can be a bit of a challenge. Breakdown by country. 87% of our international students at Fleming are from India. 10% are from Vietnam. 3% are from 26 countries, many of which we have targeted for growth. So we're trying to grow other markets, as I'm sure you know. China, the Philippines, India, and Vietnam, those are the 4 countries that belong to the SDS program. Very briefly, this is a program through Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, where students who can demonstrate that they have the language capacity and that they can pay for 1 year of their tuition can be fast-tracked to study here. 99% of our Indian students belong to the SDS program, and I'll talk in a minute about how the language requirement for that program has increased. Almost all of our Vietnamese students are part of that program, so that's something to keep in mind in the next slide. If you have any questions, just ask me. I'm purposely going quickly, but I hope I'm getting my point across. We know, and many of you here have said this, that the postgraduate programs are the dominant ones for our international students. 929 are in the Big 4 programs. okay? PMG, IBM / GBS, WIN, and SEN. We also
Do you all know those?
I don't know when.
I don't know.
It would be better.
Oh, sorry.
So here, Sutherland Project Management, and then the International Business Management, Global Business Management, the 1 and 2 year program, Wireless Information Networking, in Tech and Technology, and Sustainable Agriculture at Frost. Those are our big intake programs.
Sorry, I should have said that. We also have our English Language Bridge program. So currently we have 84 students studying in 3 levels. Most of them are from Vietnam. These are students who did not meet the language requirement to enter directly into post-secondary. So they stay with us for 1, 2, or 3 semesters in our English program to get their English level up, and then they articulate into the college program of their choice. So some students in your programs right now are coming directly from our ELB program. Okay? And the remainder are registered across programs at Sutherland and Frost. So for students to study at Fleming College, they need to have in the undergraduate programs, they need to have an average of 6.0 on the IELTS test. The IELTS consists of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So there are 4 bands. They need an average with their speaking, listening, reading, and writing of 6.0. Meaning that they need an average of 6.0, but no band can be less than a 5.5. So in a nutshell, if they are a 6, it means that they are a competent user. If they are 5.5, they are approaching that level. That being said, I just mentioned the SDS program that the federal government has launched. As of this September, so all your first semester international students, almost all of them, came through this SDS stream, 95%. According to the federal government, they must have an average of 6.0 with nothing less than 6.0. No bands less than 6.0. So I don't know if you've noticed a difference. I've heard anecdotally from some faculty that they've noticed that they're a little bit higher this semester. The new incoming students, the first semester students, that remains to be seen. Of course, we'll have to look at the data, but that's the situation. And we know for our postgraduate programs that our international students need to have an average of 6.5. So they have to be at a higher level. Any questions about any of this stuff before we move on?
We will share this PowerPoint.
Sure.
With the team, by the way, and you do have a copy of the IELTS structure in your kit.
Yeah. Does that align with the other colleges in Ontario?
It aligns with the other colleges in Ontario. The 6.0 average with no band less than 5.5 absolutely aligns with almost every other college in Ontario for undergraduate programs, yes.
For postgraduate though?
For postgraduate, the 6.5, I would say it aligns, don't you think?
Durham actually I think is 7.
Is
No, it's
Durham a 7?
6.5.
Is it? I
It's
thought it was
6.5.
okay.
It's 6.5?
Okay.
Yeah. Most of them do align. Definitely the undergrad.
Universities, of course.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
universities
yeah.
are higher.
I'm on acronym overload here. What does
Yeah.
SDS mean?
Yeah. Student Direct Stream. So a federal government program, the federal government has said, oh, these students want to come here and live here and work here. How can we get them here more directly, but also, incentivize them to join our program, to come to Canada. So if they meet those requirements, a higher level of English, and 2 semesters of finances arranged, then they can come through this stream, and the Canadian government will say, we will fast track your application. Yeah.
Can you explain, because maybe I missed it in the acronyms. So our students are coming in, they need a 6.5, but that's
for postgrad.
Yeah,
for postgrad.
Sorry, and that's their average, right? So
No, the minimum.
their minimum, but in all those areas.
No, each area like 6, right?
That's what I wanted to explain, because my experience is that there's certain areas that good communication skills, that writing is totally different. So quite diverse skills, and I'm wondering how that works so that I can get a better idea of what is reasonable expectation of people, and not because I don't want to be unreasonable, but I also need to have some.
This was just raised.
Okay.
In September.
This was just raised in September, so if you have like SIM 2 or SIM 3s, you'll probably be a little
It was just raised in September for the SDS, but postgrads haven't changed.
No, postgrads also changed.
Postgrads according to SDS?
No.
Oh, for Fleming College
Fleming
they
College.
changed, sorry. So for Fleming College, you're right, we did increase our postgrad. So if we're talking about postgrads, they need a 6.5 with no band less than a 6.
I think before we didn't have it. Before we didn't have the band. So
Yeah, SAG students would have come in
Yeah.
last January under old rules, so they could have had writing scores of 5.5.
Yeah.
Yes, so they would be at a lower level because this came this September and the SDS. So all of this should mean our students are at a higher level theoretically.
So if you look at 5 on here, what does it say? Modest
From
user.
fall 2018.
Modest.
Modest user.
Yeah.
Can I, maybe this is an obvious question, you might get to it, and I don't want to get too sidetracked, but when we have speakers coming in and their language is modest user or higher, right? So or competent user. The trick or the tricky piece as an instructor is being able to mark things fairly. And so, you know, we have assignments that the written is important, and the ability to communicate is really important. So a competent or a modest user, right, their marks reflect that, you know, and so anyway, that just, I'm not sure how to bridge some of those issues that happen in terms of comprehension, what they might be doing compared to what I get in a written format or what I get as a finished product. Because sometimes compared to a student who English has been their language since they were born and they can use it, they have just a whole different set of skills and ways of using that language to their benefit, right? And it's hard to know how to balance all that stuff in your classroom and try to make it fair and not make it too depressing for people either. And all of those kind of challenges that are coming forward. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I don't know.
You're not alone in that.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I would like. But it's interesting is I know this has been raised by lots of people, but I very rarely have ever got any advice on how to do it. It's usually just like, oh yeah, that's a problem.
Can I just give like, yeah. So my thinking is that students, just by the virtue of living here, they improve very quickly. They improve their English very quickly. And if you're not teaching English, if you're teaching something else, like for example technology or business or whatever, I don't give so much weight on the language skills in the first you know, maybe couple of semesters. And I try to restructure the learning so that they can use whatever means to express themselves, just to make sure that they get the knowledge, and then, but always alert them that they will have to improve. And then by semester 3 and 4, then we start giving more like specific assignments on technical writing or things like that. And by the end, like one team that they submitted a report to the city of Kawartha Lakes about how the city would, and it's like Vietnamese and Indian students, and the city was very impressed. So just over time, like, but if we try to trap them, like, oh, your English is bad in the first semester, of course it's not. So we have to expect that there is a sort of a level, and it just happens that just by the virtue of working here, they just improve by like doing all kinds of things. But like getting really stuck, oh, their English is bad, like they're no good, you know, it's not gonna work.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. Like what I hear in class, because we do a lot of interactive stuff. I hear really amazing ideas. Like we're working on farm business plans right now. Amazing ideas, and then what I get in a written form, I'm like, it's hard to do that. It's hard. Like it's not being translated into the written work. So these are just the challenges that we see, and our program is a year, right? So we don't have the leisure of being like, oh, we'll wait and let people, and that's an issue with people coming in too. Like they arrive for us right now. They arrive in January. Who wants to arrive here in January? How hard is that, right? That's hard. but then they jump right into school and it's like there's no, you know, there's no time for that getting used to things.
But I think, sorry, you had a question. I know we have to move on, but and we have to keep in mind that their weakest skill is generally going to be their writing, and it's going to take more time to develop, and it's never going to be, you know, perfect grammar. They're never going to have that level of the domestic student in the sentence structure and things like that. So we do need to be aware of that, but see if they're meeting the learning outcomes. I'm sure that's another teaching session. But so those are definitely things that we have to think about. Sorry, you have had a question.
Well, my question was along the same lines. I was having issues with their written work as well, and like their communication skills otherwise are very good. I know for me personally, I basically just read what they're saying, and if I get the general concept of what they're saying, I don't mark them so poorly on their spelling and grammar or whatever. But like if I was to do that, it would take me an hour to mark each lab to try and correct that. So I was wondering, is there somewhere where I can send them to help them with that?
Yes, so we have, so first of all, that's great, but I know that there are other programs where you, the students need a certain level of writing to go out into the workforce, so we're not saying to dismiss that. But we have an English support session with an English faculty member who sits and works with the students. So,
can they work specifically like on an assignment?
They can bring their assignments, you can connect with the faculty, and they can work on that together. So if you want to connect with me, I can connect your students with that program. We can also get them tutoring.
So Tracy is, I think,
we're just gonna say too, this is awesome. We need more of this, and we can have you guys back too for another session in the winter. So I'm just saying, if the conversation is flowing here, perhaps this is something, the case study we could do with the winter too, if you're feeling tight on.
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay.
Excellent
I
segue.
have
We're going to
one
have
comment.
questions there. Sorry, got it.
One comment.
Okay. Quickie.
One quickie. Because today I had a professor who gave me an idea about that written, and he said that he asks all the students to download Grammarly on their computer, and then when they're writing their emails, when they're writing the reports, they check it through Grammarly before sending it.
It's a great
Just an
idea.
That's
a great site.
Didn't do that either.
Yeah.
So good segue here. We're going to just move along here because there's some things that
I
we
just
got
had the
to
website.
I can
Please join Tracy. She is an ESL teacher, English as a second language teacher, and runs that department, not just managing international student services. So please make a point to register for one of her sessions.
Sorry.
It's not
Sorry, I just want to say really quickly that there are other sessions. We do other sessions on teaching. We do other sessions on teaching English language learners, and I don't want you to think that I'm saying that you need to water down the contents of your program or send learners out to the workforce who don't have those skills that they need to perform in programs like the Law Clerk program. So this is a conversation for another day, but there are ways to raise the student's level and some teaching techniques that we can talk about later.
All right, so Tracy has one that's focused on the teaching of language skills. And not just for comm teachers. Amanda has a portfolio in academic integrity, so if those are issues you're struggling with in the classroom, please join up for her academic integrity session that she does with Paul in the academic VP's office. And then my expertise is in cultural competency, which you're just going to get a couple cases out of today. But join us. We'll be running, I don't think we have anything scheduled this fall. We're a little short on time and staff-wise because I'm only part-time doing my immigration training. So January, we will come in anytime after Christmas. I'm not even going to cover this. Okay. Boop, boop. So, if you want to look at your case studies, we've got two. And we just want to give you 10 minutes to have a chat with each other because you've got fantastic questions and instincts. You're raising all the right issues. So I'm going to say that there's a split. If you're on the front tables, your group in case 1. And if you're in this set of tables, you're case 2. Okay? So we'll give you 10 minutes to see if you can take a big bite.
I just love how you took it.
Okay.
You don't like us?
5 minutes. 5 minutes. Boss.
5-minute discussion. Yeah. And then we'll come back and we'll kind of overview them briefly together.
I know.
Sorry.
No, so this is, I
So we're
went.
supposed to talk about this group discussion. So
Yeah.
you're the teacher and the
Definitely what I
international
told
student. Because we should be supportive, right?
So it is an international issue.
Help them how they need help.
So basically what he said was
Find a way we can direct them to
recommended
things.
program, which is like scaffolding and a higher penalty for your writing
Not here.
first semester and a standardized rubric across all the food programs so they get the same
I introduced myself,
level of
my
hit
background.
for every
And
course.
the
And directing, and directing
First of all,
students,
everybody
highlighting the ones that are identified.
The number one, I would say, our role
It's on
is
them
to
to
be
hear
able
and
to
identify all of them.
this is the
I can't see your
It's 10%
faces,
of
y'all
the
have
students
faces,
are
I
involved.
need you to come.
And by the time it's the
Everybody come down front. So
25.
now they know they're not at the
And
same
that,
spot.
putting the hands up is going to be
Everybody
pressure
does.
access to
So are we
So it's
ask,
like,
what
do
are we
you
doing?
actually make me
Are we
change
trying to
this?
answer this?
Everybody come on
Do you
down.
guys want to just scoot that way and come around?
you know,
Because
I'll
it's
just
really
come
awkward.
Yeah, and let's turn around that way. How's that? Let's
360.
So it's our job to get them, to me, it's our
You
job
became
to
part of the
get
group.
them started as
Congratulations.
possible on their off, they get them.
Do you know you volunteered?
Offers going back.
Okay, we need to start the talk over there.
You know what I mean? So like, so
So everybody read the thing?
Well, that means, and then they started realizing they had
I wanna
more
say
than
mentor
one
coach.
shot they originally had. So we had
Because
this
sometimes
lab
it just
service
might
have
not.
really
Yeah, that's what I think
Or-
I heard a good point.
I think about this and I say that
Like, big liaison.
you know, working on
Maybe
three
a
project managers, and so they go
And
through
so all of a
those
sudden they realized
and
that
it's
it
like
was
the nuts
common,
and
but it was
bolts.
because they were
That's
Help.
Yeah,
like
well, I kind of
but
do
you
both.
know
I like
darn
to,
And now they
well,
don't
in order to survive and then also work, it's all the other stuff.
every single class
Communication,
needs
to
something
me,
that only
communication is like,
the number one.
and so
mentor
it's like,
growth, like,
Everybody's gonna pick it up.
am I putting in students when I would have hired? And to me, the answer is no. And I've talked about it with my program coordinators in the chair, and everybody else to say, okay, like, I'm filling the requirements of the class.
I had to tell students to snap
I'm
it.
filling the requirements of the course. If I do
Snap
like
at
that,
me. I said you snap at
okay,
animals, not
don't
people.
necessarily take communication. Which,
Because it happens multiple lives in real life.
part of the way. But it's like,
Excuse me.
it's that gap from the movie, and I don't think we have enough
I was like, I couldn't believe
to
it.
close that gap. And I also don't believe that I'm not qualified to do it. And so the real challenge that I find is that
And some
when
of
the
them I don't,
whole
there's no way we
group
can more than
is that way.
Well, I have a lot of faith,
To the
and
point
I feel
where
like
it's
I'm
like,
acting on
okay,
faith all the time. I just have faith that they know what they're doing. The students is, I think they're in the writing program and they're just doing a project for me. And they're absolutely lovely. However,
Well, try it out. Yeah, but just try to, don't single them out, treat them the same as the other students in the class as well, right? Don't give them, don't single, if they don't give you a reason to, you want to just everybody the same. Like, I know sometimes I've seen them in some of my tests and stuff, they all sit together. And I tell everybody, let's move around or move up, change up or whatever, like, it
how's that help?
I'm like, they're business and they're project management. They're business.
well,
Understanding that their culture is different than ours, and they're dealing with coming to a new culture. Yeah.
bit of a shock.
maybe there's a couple of issues that sometimes
Some people have some
Is there an
They got thrown.
What about if
Right.
we,
The
majority of course, if you have like a 4-semester program, it would be much easier.
Yeah.
We can add lots of, every semester we can add more and more.
I believe that's the answer, honestly.
What's even the loss of it? Because they just carry it so around.
The way I look at it is like, okay, so clearly this whole program was created to fill a need in the market and is targeted to women. That's why it has to
keep it coming.
No, okay. I would say add the extra year because there's 2 years. I didn't make the rule.
That's why. So they need because right now I think the rules are that if you have 2 years of education, so they're or 3 years or
1 year, but then the teacher finds something else to fill in.
why not keep that?
I agree.
I do that pretty much.
So, outside of college, I usually give them a whole bunch of websites that you can go You get like the employees, I don't think
There's the biggest scam going around for international students now. The Peterborough Police even posted
So
online.
we're gonna just take a couple of minutes
People
here
calling
to see
the
what
say
you
immigration tax.
Sorry, we only have 6 minutes.
guys. So we're just gonna recap here.
Yeah, and can I just say, so we've only got a little bit of time left, but we can have Debbie and Tracy back in the winter because there's more to this conversation and we can continue it. So just to let you know that as we're wrapping up, that there's more than the next 6 minutes.
So
Another day.
I think we took the lid off the box today. I hear you passionately discussing all the issues. And you're going right to the key ones, I can hear that. So you're all right on track. So thanks for sharing with one another. Just a reminder, you want to get a couple of hours with us. Those are the sessions we can offer you. Just come to Jody and Mary through your faculties or whatever, and they'll book us in. So very briefly, the first case is really raising issues of all the personal immigration, other stuff, working, health that comes to your door and your emails. I know it every day, chocked full, right? So any from the front group, a couple of key points that came up about how you're feeling about your role, how you balance your teaching time with support for international students. A couple key points came up. Anything you feel like you really wanted to share with everybody?
I think we thought one of our main roles was to take what we've learned in these sessions and to try to connect people with the supports that the college offers, because it seems like there is quite a good net there. Absolutely. So there's only so much we can do on the academic front, but whatever we can do to kind of smooth things over that way, and then all the other stuff is kind of outside of, in terms of being a counselor, like a bona fide counselor, and so connecting people is
excellent baseline.
the way to go.
Excellent baseline. Each of you will set that line tighter or looser depending on how you feel confident, depending on your student profile in your particular program. But do remember there's a lot of us out there in the college that have expertise in all kinds of areas, as you said, counseling. Do not try to handle immigration issues, please. There are legal parameters around immigration advising. Amanda is already a regulated international student immigration advisor. And if I pass in February, I will be too. So send them to us, those immigration questions, when they hit your inbox or your classroom floor or your office door. Second case, really briefly, is the experience that some of you have. It doesn't meet sort of the all-India classroom that some of you are teaching, for example, but does kind of try to zoom in on the issues where you're balancing a Canadian student population with an international student population in some level, whether more Canadians or more international. Are there any key issues that came up? So a couple discussions going on, a couple group twos. Anything you'll want to share with your colleagues? Yeah.
I found one of the biggest challenges with them coming in January is that being, of course, it's only a one-year program, we are full steam ahead on day 2. And I felt last year, and this is what, the 2nd January, that we've had a group of internationals come to us. The week that we're trying to start, they're still in all their orientation functions. Is there any way that stuff can be dealt with earlier? Because we've got, you know, a January intake, even our domestic students are seeing new people. By the time they get to us late in maybe week 2, sometimes week 3, the groups are formed, everybody's getting familiar with one another, and then there's this influx of another new group of faces coming in, and then the whole international challenge is part of it. Has there been any thought about moving this orientation ahead so at least they're there on day 1 when everybody's a stranger?
Our 3-day orientation program happens the week before classes start.
There's
For
occasions
example,
that
this
heavy starts a bit early, and it seems that we still, by the time they get settled and everything, we don't see them regular.
So about the 480 students we had, do you know how many students showed up at our first day of orientation this year? 60.
Yeah.
Oh, this semester.
Do you know who signed, how many kids signed on? I do a communications out to them. I start 2 months out ahead of the semester, and I'm pushing communications on anybody we've got an email for. And it's about everything, and prepping school, taking the things to read and things to think about, and lists of what you've got to do. I get kids who get their visas at the end of August and first week of September, and then they decide to join the mailing list. Just so they can find out where their free airfare pickup is, and we'll book that and they're here. We're pushing uphill on this. We're always trying to get them to the info a little earlier, but it is a challenge. Planning is not necessarily a cultural value shared by everybody in the world on all levels. And we will talk about that in cultural competency training, of how you battle with that, some of those particularly dominant groups that we have that I say don't come from a planning culture. They come from karma. What the will be, what will happen, right? So, yeah,
it's really rough when they start off behind. Yeah, it's really hard when they start off behind, you know, class-wise, socially the whole works.
Fly in on day 9.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I had a student start in week 4 this semester.
Oh, that's not so.
She arrived at the airport apparently to come here in the end of August, and they didn't accept her passport because it was wrinkled, and so she had to apply for a new one. So she got here like the weekend before week 4.
Okay, I thought you were saying that registrar's office letter in.
No. But it's just, again, it's week 4.
And we offer, week 4 is very late. We offer orientation sessions every Monday for the first month for them to get a recap for the ones that didn't come, but we can't guarantee they're going to come, but we advertise it, come to our makeup orientation. So we're trying, but as Debbie said, it's an uphill battle. And we're being honest about that.
Would you like FaceTime in our first, like in our orientation?
Sure.
And our first
we
year
love
classes?
to come to stuff and
like,
promote. Yeah, anytime.
This has been a great conversation, and we hate to have to cut it off, but we do. And so the next 10 minutes are a break for our group. So if you have specific questions for Debbie or Tracy, they might be able to stick around for a few minutes. When we come back as a group, Jody's group is going to stay here. So the micro teaching in that group will be Tanya and Aaron. And then the people who are coming with me, the micro teachers are Jeff and Jeff Hubers and Noel. We're going to go down to the little meeting room by our offices, which now you know where we are now, Noel. And so if you are not in one of those two groups, have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for joining us today. And just before I answer Paula's question,
do you have more of these sheets? Yes. Somewhere. Okay, great.
So thank you to Debbie and Tracy for joining us, and we look forward to having you back again. And I will get the PowerPoint from you.